Year 2 has launched for Space Marine 2. And in this video today, I want to go through some of the elements of that Year 2 launch, that season pass, some stuff that's coming, all sorts of fun things, and kind of give you my review of, is it time to either jump in for the first time or return to Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 if you haven't played in a long time, maybe you only played at launch. So in my typical fashion of upfronting the knowledge of my videos, let me give you the down and dirty. Absolutely, the game is worth jumping into because it's kind of, I don't want to say more of the same, but it's expanded upon in a fun way to add a purpose to grinding for unlocks of weapons, a purpose to grinding for towards the prestige of any one of your classes. And in addition to that, we now have a new heroic branch of weapons that are given to us through weekly and daily stratagems, which are basically a challenge mode that is added to the current rotation of operations. Now, we also were given an additional operation and the ability to customize any of the champions into various other classes and in the class itself. So for example, here, this is the Vanguard. I'm using portions of the Space Wolves champion, pretty much just minus the helmet, or the Bulwark. I have portions of the brand new Black Templars champion. It's mainly, I just wanted to change the colors up more than anything. And I changed the greaves. Or Assault, that's just the Assault guy. Heavy here, I'm pulling the Iron Fist tactical champion onto the Heavy class, and I'm using the Ultramarines Heavy champion Greaves and Vambraces onto this character. So you can see that now we can do a lot more modular customization of the champion units into the game. Adds a lot more customization and flair. Overall, I think it is a great time to get back into the game if you've not played in a long time. Being able to jump through all of these prestiges to unlock the prestige perks is useful. I'll be honest with you, I don't really have much of an interest in it. I know a lot of people do, and I know they're having a lot of fun with the prestige perks. I personally am not. Well, it's not that I'm not, it's just that I'm not playing enough for me to want to grind through those right now. In addition, though, getting access to the, let me go ahead and come over here. You can see Celestial Lions were added in as well. If I come over here to Refinement and Redemption, we can use the currency that we get, which is this up here, it says 305, to get any of the new heroic weapons, are basically a new tier that gives us an additional capability. Like for example here, Power Rake waves are wider and deal 20% more, or this has a 3-round burst for the bolt pistol. And then a bunch of armor unlocks that are either previous timed locks or unique ones that are added. So Year 2 is fun, it's exciting. It's added a lot of purpose to the current existing gameplay loop. There's a lot of changes coming for PvP. We're gonna get a whole new PvP mode that was added. I don't know if it was added in, I think it was actually added in with this patch. I just haven't played PvP in ages. We have a new Tech Marine class coming. So a lot of very fun stuff on the horizon. That's the too long didn't watch this entire video. I will say though that if you were bored with the gameplay loop before, you're like, hey, you know, I've done all the operations a million times. Well, if you played at launch, there's now up to 10 operations. So there is that to consider. But the gameplay loop is very much the same. So I want to be transparent about that. I want you to know that so you can make an informed decision on whether or not you're coming back. Remember, everything I'm pretty much talking about is free. The only thing that is not free are specific champion and chapter packs if you have not bought the Season 2 season pass. But again, that's the too long didn't watch this entire video. If that's all you wanted to know, please feel free to go ahead and shut the video down. I want to be respectful of your time. You can jump ahead to any part of this video that interests you the most using chapters with the timeline and the description. And don't forget to check me out on Twitch, where I'll be streaming this game and plenty of others every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. But let's get started here on, is Space Marine 2 worth coming back to in Year 2? So the first thing I want to jump into is the new tier of weapon. Now these are relegated strictly to the Stratagem system, which is going to be the second thing we talk about. And because I've got 300 points, I want to show you how this works. So here's our current options. We have a bolt rifle, a bolt pistol, a combat knife, a heavy plasma incinerator, meaning it's the one that only the heavy class can use, a chain sword, and a power sword. This is just a weapon skin. Now, I think personally what I would like to go with first is the Xenophase blade, because the characters that I like to play use the power sword. If you wanted to use something that's usable on everyone, you would want to go with something like the bolt pistol, because everyone can use a bolt pistol. A lot of classes can also use a chainsword if they can't use a power sword, so that's something to consider. Also, the combat knife has a limited use, but it's very, very fun for what it can be used on. These two are going to be relegated to, do you play tactical a lot? Combi Melta is going to be fun. You can use an alternative Melta firing mode accessed through augmented vision scope mode. And then the heavy plasma incinerator here is in heavy stance, get an increase in fire rate instead of charged shots. So you're pretty much shooting a lot more rather than larger individual shots. So we're gonna go ahead and buy this. And now we own the Xenophase blade. Coming over here to the armoring hall, let's take a look at our Xenophase blade that we just unlocked. Now, you'll see that this exists over here on the far right, right? It's in its own category. If I click over on the power sword or power fist, you can see that it's classified. So there are more heroic tier items that are going to be launched over time. I did not mention this in the the intro of the video, but there is also the brand new power axe that has come as well with this patch. And if you like the power axe in the intro, you will love the power axe now, because it's really fucking good. I think honestly I enjoy it more than the power sword. It has much more of a reliable damage profile, a lot of cleaves and big sweeping arcs, which we'll see in a bit. Now we have the Xenophase blade equipped. Get a special perk tree right here. Power rake waves are wider and deal 20% more. I don't have to invest points into it. It's just always there. It's always active for us. So that is the Xenophase blade. And here, just so you can see it's equipped. I think there's a bug associated with it right now, where sometimes it actually doesn't look like the weapon is equipped. So let's go ahead and go over to the launch bay, and we'll turn around as I casually pet my dog that just touched my leg and scared the shit out of me in the middle of my recording. We'll come down here. This was added in a couple patches ago, maybe actually like right in the beginning of the year. So this is the Xenophase blade. It just doesn't look like it, but I promise it is. So there we go. That's the new super duper power rake that is coming out of this bad boy, and that is just one of these heroic weapons. And it's the only one I've unlocked. As you saw, we unlocked it raw. So now that we have those, how do they work? How do we get them to do their thing? Well, in order to get the currency for them, we're going to need to go use the new stratagem system. So let's take a look at that. So going over to the mission terminal, let's take a look at stratagems. We'll do this. We make sure we're in PvE mode, and we go to the stratagems mode, and we can see two different columns. We see a normal column, and then we see a hard column. And it's worth noting that normal is substantial. Here, let me go look at this. Normal is substantial, hard is ruthless. That's the characterization of how the monsters are scaled, because if you look at these two symbols, they correspond to the symbols of both normal and hard. Let me take a look at that real quick, show you real quick. You can see up there in the upper right corner right there says normal. That's the same one as substantial, and this is the same one as ruthless. So normal is, it's not necessarily that normal is easier from a battlefield condition standpoint. It's more the actual monsters themselves. So what you'll get with these stratagems are these battlefield conditions. And you'll see right here that this says battlefield condition, aggravated assault. Assault will have 50% less health and deal 50% less damage to enemies and will not be able to parry blockable attacks. And then the Astra Militarum, Imperial Troopers spawn. So you'll get Imperial Troopers as reinforcement, which is great, but you pretty much will not be using assault on this unless for some reason you want an extra challenge mode, right? So what's nice about these battlefield conditions is it removes that. Well, I did say that, you know, the gameplay loop hasn't changed. What's nice is it forces you to get off of certain characters that, you know, maybe kind of carry you. Like, hey, you know what? I'm always really good at assault. Let me play assault. Let me play assault. Well, nope, this map doesn't want you to play assault anymore. Or there will be other ones here that'll say the same thing for a bulwark, or this one I think is heavy, right? Like, yeah, heavy burden. So now heavy cannot be, it has the same exact penalties. But there's other things that you'll also encounter. So equipment malfunction, equipment cannot be used, combat mastery, melee or range damage increases with the bonus switching every 15 seconds, and Imperial Trooper spawn. So you can see that it's not always negative. It's sometimes positive, it's sometimes chaotic and random. This one right here, an unkillable lictor constantly pursues you. Dealing enough damage scares it away for a brief time. Major challenge. The number of Majoris enemies spawned is heavily increased. The number of Minoris spawned is heavily reduced. And range damage at less than 10 meters is increased by 75%. So this shows you, like, you're going to have to kind of change how you play. You're going to have to deal with lots of Majoris. So you're going to want to bring the accoutrement to deal with that. So those are your daily stratagems. They reset every 24 hours. Then you have your weekly stratagems. The difference here is the amount of blue pyramids that are awarded to you for completing. So normal dailies give you 5, hard dailies give you 10. And you can see too that it's random the amount that you get, and there's no difference, right? So point blank here for Fall of Atreus is the same as point blank over here for Decapitation. You're now just dealing with scaled up monsters. So there's just those things to kind of consider. Now the weekly stratagems, like I said, rather than giving you 5 and 10, they'll give you 200 for hard or 150 for normal. And these weekly ones will reset. I'm Pacific Standard Time at my time zone, and you can see that this is 6 days and 8 hours left to complete them. It is currently 4 p.m. on Monday. So these reset in between Sunday into Monday. Actually, I guess it's actually just kind of, like on Sunday they reset. But they'll reset every week and you'll have a different one to take advantage of. So you can see that doing 2 normals in a week, or 2 normals back to back for the weeklies, gets you enough to do one of the heroic, gets you enough to unlock a heroic, or doing both the normal and the hard weekly stratagems gets you enough to unlock a heroic. If you were to do all of these, it's not going to be enough. So you see that the game kind of encourages you to do the weekly stratagems. You do have, of course, the other items you can unlock through this, right? We go to the arming hall. We have other items that are not locked to the heroic system. So we have other cosmetics that are 200 points. These are actual currency of 500. So you do have varying cost to things. It's not all 300 for just these heroics. You get these cosmetics in here as well. But that is the new stratagem system, and I like it a lot. I am a little worried that it will get stale very quickly once people have unlocked the heroics or the armor customizations that they want. It might be fun to see those battlefield conditions sprinkled into maybe quick play or something like that, where those conditions exist because they add a little bit of a challenge and they kind of switch things up on you. So you're not just kind of going through the same stuff. Like once you've kind of completed your weeklies, it really doesn't seem too worth it to grind the dailies, because that's a lot of points to grind over time. If we're talking about 200, right? And 200 points for one of the cosmetics. So 5, 10, 15 for just the normal. So I'm terrible at like quick napkin math like that. But if we were to take like 200 and divide it by 15, it would take 13 days to unlock a cosmetic with just the normals. Of course, if you add 30 extra points in here with hard, for a total of 45 points a day, yeah, you're going to unlock one quite quick. But hard is a significant jump up, and sometimes something like this, every wave is enraged Majoris, that's terrifying. Ammo reserve is doubled, that's nice. Melee range damage increases, that's good. And Imperial Trooper spawn. Well, you know what? Honestly, these are 3 pretty good ones with one real negative, but that negative is a real nut punch on Vortex, which is the newest map, which is a difficult map. So let's now talk about that new operation. So enjoy this footage of me not ever beating the Vortex map, because holy shit. And I don't know why I've decided that I won't do it on anything lower than lethal. Maybe it's pride. Maybe I'm just not a smart human being. But today I'm going to tell you that the Vortex mission is a lot of fun, because with the Vortex mission, we also get the advent of the Chaos spawn. Now, this is not relegated solely to the Vortex mission. It's going to be on Obelisk. It's going to be on Fall of Atreus, Reliquary, all the ones that have any kind of presence of chaos. And the Chaos spawn are real brawlers. They're really they're really mean. They have really fun telegraphs though. I find that they have a cool big cone attack. They have a big AoE blast. They have this big like swirling vortex of like warp dust that really hurts. But they also have this special mode where they go to do a call in, like call for reinforcements, and unless you can actually outright stagger, not through melee damage, you need to do through some sort of blast or maybe through the Vanguard's grapple, something like that that actually physically displaces them, you can't interrupt it. So it kind of forces you to say, okay, there's a call in happening, let me go melee it. Well, no, you actually have to respond by doing something that's going to knock it off of its feet. So I really like that. It's a different way to deal with a system that already exists. So the boss though is difficult. The beginning, it's got multiple phases. The beginning phase, not too hard. The second phase is pretty easy once you realize what you've got to do. It's the third phase and the fourth phase that are real pain in the asses, because the boss has a very hectic, very fast attack pattern. And honestly, I think it's a boss style that we needed, that was a little bit more hard to deal with in melee. You know, like when you go to beat all the other bosses we've dealt with so far, it's easy to find the groove of the telegraph and kind of hit the parry enough enough times to really get that movement set down. And I think this is a difficult one, and I've put probably like, I don't know, I want to say 20 or 30 hours into the patch, and I should just knock the difficulty down, or actually like play with like an actual comp and actually go together with friends. But no, stubborn pride keeps me from winning the Vortex, and I think it is a perfect step in a good direction. I would like to see more. I'm sorry, I don't know if I qualify, if I explain this properly. The Majoris are not like a brand. I'm sorry, the Chaos Spawn are not like a brand new extremist or anything like that. They'll come in waves just like the Space Marines do. So they are a Majoris level enemy that you'll experience in high quantities. So it adds a lot more life to Chaos maps. That's not just simply, okay, I'm going to rip the head off of a bunch of point blank shooting Chaos Space Marines, a la the Thousand Suns. You're like, now you're actually going to have a lot of good variety across Majoris that are really fearful, or really not fearful, they're really scary in melee combat, and then dealing with the typical kind of range combat that you've gotten already with the Thousand Suns. Now our two last things are going to bring us back into the armoring hall, or at least a small detour here. So the Power Axe, this is our newest weapon that was added, and we know that we're going to be getting another new weapon with the Tech Marine and its Artificer Techno Axe. I know that's not the name of it, but my brain is crap, and that's what I've gone with for right now. Played the game for 20 plus years, you'd think I remember everything, but I don't. So the Power Axe I like a lot. It has an attack pattern that is in between kind of the Power Sword and the Combat Knife. It's got a lot of really good speed. Maybe the in between the Power Sword and the Chain Sword, because you can switch between power or quick stance with the Power Sword, and that can kind of get a little clunky. Sometimes you can fat finger it, sometimes you can hold something down for too long and swap off if something you didn't want to. You have to really get into the mood of learning how to switch stances off of certain actions, and once you do that, yeah, the Power Sword really clicks. The Chain Sword just feels good all the time, really. And the Power Axe has that same kind of feel, but with a lot of really good cleaving capability. And what's fun too is that the combinations of the Power Axe evolve as you invest points into it. So with the Power Sword, we have our quick attack mode or quick stance, and we have our power stance, right? And you can modify each one by adding to them by simply saying, oh, you got one more step now in this stance. But with the Power Axe, you pop into power mode by doing a perfect parry. Your character swings the axe above themselves, boom, that blade just kind of emanates a good glow. You're ready to just slice and dice. You press a button and you shoot a power wave out. It's really fun. But now, as you evolve through the perk tree, you can add some spice into that. So you can add, so there's an overhead strike into it, and it does more damage. You just have a lot of evolution attached to this thing, and I think it's really fun. It is very cool. And the whirl slashes that just kind of sweep around you are a ton of fun as well. So I like that level of having Power Axe's power stance be locked to a play style, or I'm sorry, being locked to a natural progression of your play style versus trying to adapt to the way the weapon plays. I like that a lot more than trying to swap stances as per the situation that sees it. I'm just pretty much going to be in the speedy throw cleaving attacks everywhere mode of the Power Axe until I really want to do concerted single target damage, which I'm going to have triggered innately in my playstyle by doing some sort of perfect parry, probably, right? Majoris is going to attack me, perfect parry, cool. I can get the wombo combo out of the Power Axe's big hits from power mode. So big fan of the Power Axe. Power Axe can only be used though by the Vanguard, the Assault, and the Bulwark. Tactical Sniper and Heavy cannot use it at all. So last but not least is the advent of being able to customize the champion skins. So let's take a look over here at our Bulwark. We have the 2 champion skins of the Dark Angels champion and the newly released Black Templars champion. You can see, if I move this guy off, here's my custom one. It's not that much different, right? I just kind of changed the tabard up. I wanted him to look more like a Sword Brethren versus this is just a typical Black Templar. I wanted to have that look. I threw white. It's supposed to be black if he's a Sword Brethren, but damn, that white is just so clean looking with this new armor set that I couldn't get away from it. Look what I did with the grills. That's sick as hell. Oh man, I love it. But take a look at this, the Dark Angel champion. We have that helmet, right? Well, let's go over to Assault, who is definitely not a Bulwark. Let's press helmet. Feels sacrilegious to take off a beaky helmet. And now, that's my Assault now, right? So we can play around with certain pieces off of their respective home champion class. This is a Bulwark one. We already took a look at this in my Heavy, but my Heavy is using majority of the Ultramarines champion armor through all the Greaves and Gauntlets. This stuff is I think this is, yeah, that's just the Mark 10. Then I took the Imperial Fist champion helmet from Tactical and slapped it on here. I don't think I can get the one with the brush on it. I can't recall. No, I can't. And I felt like it really fit, right? Like, I thought that had such a clean look to it. It really fits into the Gravis armor look. And then conversely too, you probably saw that. And I think Heavy might be a good place to showcase it. But the Vanguard, which can have a Space Wolf, well, now I can have a Space Wolf's champion helmet on all of the classes. Sniper's a little funky. I think I can do Space Wolf helmet here. Yeah. I can throw the Assault champion from the White Scars onto this, whatever I want. This one though is, like I said, it's a little weird because we can't use the helmet of the champion, that face right there. We can't use it off of, which sucks. I wanted that rebreather. We can't use it off of the champion. Some pieces can be used off and they're not even the same too, which I'll show in a little bit. But we can use the cape, or I'm sorry, we can use the backpack and the cape. They're 2 separate things. Pauldrons, I don't believe we can actually use the pauldrons. No, you cannot. Pauldrons with like the dragon. Oh, no, I lied. I lied to you guys straight up in your face. But you can use the Greaves, you can use the gauntlets just fine. So let's take a look over here though at the Vanguard. I'm wearing the Vanguard chest piece for the champion, but you can see that it has just a little bit different, right? Right here, there's an actual tasset. We don't get that. So there are some slight variations with the way that the champion armor is put onto the other classes, but it adds just a ton of fun and flair so that you can actually just really, I mean, I wanted to do something with the tactical, but dude, you know, it's just so hard when you Emperor Spears, baby, like just trying to have some fun with it. Like, this didn't need to pull much off of this. I kind of felt like I was fine right here. So, but we can still play around with some stuff on here. I would have liked to have put the Ultramarines helmet onto more things, but here's the Dark Angels one, here's the Assault one, here's the Vanguard one, here is the Bulwark one. So plenty of helmets that can be swapped around, plenty of things that you can do now to really give you a lot more customization in the game. So in closing, my opinion of the patch is very high. Nothing was like nerfed, nothing was made like terrible or anything like that. All the improvements to the game are very substantial. I really enjoy the customization options. I think that this is being the beginning step of heroic is a cool thing to know about, right? Like being able to play with heroic tiers of weapons is very fun, and having them be kind of not necessarily rule breakers, but adding some flair to the weapons so that I can actually step in a different direction or use a specific method of play with those. Do like that a lot. Stratagems, I think, also are a great way to mix up the operations. Now, some of the things I don't like, and it's not necessarily relegated to patch 10, I just don't really want to go through the prestige stuff. Prestige does give you specific perks that do add additional flavor, but none of them really change too much. And the developer said that that was the intention. They didn't want to make it so that you had to grind through the prestige system to get these really good godly things that are min-maxed. They wanted to reward people that did want to grind through it. So I would like to see the prestige system maybe play into this new heroic system in some way, shape, or form, or have stratagems give you something, or have the prestige system give you something towards the heroic system. Like, oh, if you complete a prestige level, you'll get 100 stratagem points. Cool. Now I can feel that grind is going to be worth it because it's going to contribute to something that can maybe get me half of a cosmetic or something like that. And again, the stance I think of having the prestige not be a necessary thing, I think is great, because I don't play the game a whole ton anymore. I already have like 500-600 hours into it. So it's nice to come in for the patches, play some games with friends, drop like 30-40 hours into it, then come back again when more content drops. So there's a lot of really cool content coming on the way. Like I said, the Tech Marine's going to be coming at the beginning of 2026. And I think that's going to be a really fun time for Space Marine 2, because we'll have another set of champion and chapter packs that are going to drop before that and at that time. So tons more customization options, more heroic weapons to be added, more operations to be added, more PvP stuff to be added. All that stuff is coming in the future. So I think it's a great time to jump into the game if you have not already. I think it's honestly, if you played the game at launch and you got burnt out because you just played the operations, please come back. The game is so worth trying again to see how the new operations are. They're all way, not necessarily better, but they're different. The original 6 are good, they're solid, but the new 4 are very challenging, and they're fun, and they're refreshing, and the mechanics are cool and interesting, and the story behind them is really cool. Like the Trigon one is so fun to play that, because you have this like corrupted servo skull that just kind of taunts you the whole time, and it has a lot of really fun, juicy lore bits if you're into the lore of the game. So I definitely recommend trying the new operations, and again, just playing through all the new stuff that you can with these heroic things, I think is going to be quite rewarding. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. I said for joining today, for watching here today. If you have anything that you have experienced with year 2 or patch 10 or maybe patch 9 or 8 that you want to say to anyone who's coming back, let it be known in the comment section below. I think that the game does not have anywhere near the player base that it once had at launch, right? And that's okay. I don't expect games to, and I think that people have a weird expectation to think that a game should retain 80% of its launch player base. I think that's just not realistic. There's too many games coming out. There's too much interest across too many genres, and it's too much pressure on developers to have them. Like if there was 250 or 80,000 people, which I think was the peak, or 300,000 people at peak, that's a ton of pressure on developers to constantly be pumping out quality content. And they've been pumping out good content every single patch with more stuff added in. So a huge shout out to the developers for throwing out awesome stuff. I do think PvP needs some sort of fire, because I don't have any interest in getting back into it, and I really liked it at launch, and I think that the PvP community too needs some sort of revivification, as it were. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.